We live in the state of Delaware. Though my 5 children and I suffered greatly in our lives, stability was one of our life's most constant battle. We call those years the hungry years. Even though I experienced grief, hardship, and suffering, one after another, the only thing which I remained constant with was my unbreakable, undying love for my children. We once watched a movie when the man went into hell in search of his wife, whose soul had gone there. But I had always known that without any doubt, if necessary, I would do the same for my beautiful children. In fact, I would gladly give up my life to save theirs. Now, since I was about the age of 7 years old, Jesus Christ had been appearing to me in dreams. Then, my life as a young married woman, I became disillusioned with those who promised to love me, but in reality they did not. This included my husband and my children's father. Life had gotten so bad that my life was tested to its very core on almost a daily basis. On one of these great tests, I fell upon my knees crying out to God. I stayed there for many days, refusing to get up, and had to be forced to eat by a friend. Yet, until then, I could not have understood any pain more shattering than I would experience on this earth until the year 2017 and 2018. Throughout the year 2017, my beloved first son of my 5 children, Marshall, became ill. Marshall had worked as a general manager for the Olive Garden restaurants and because his children were in universities in New York, Columbia, NYU, he took a job as a general manager for a position with Ruby Tuesdays on Times Square, New York City. During the year 2017, I traveled to New York, or Union City, where he lived. On one of my visits there, I baptized my son, and this was an important baptism, more important than I would ever known. Marshall's health did not improve, so no matter how much I prayed God for his healing, there was no healing to be had. Well, it was baffling to me, for in the past I'd prayed for others, for God to spare their lives, to heal them, and he had done just that. So the morning of January 2nd, 2018, holding my son in my arm, when Marshall took his last breath, I simply fell apart. For I had never had an experience so devastating as the loss of my beautiful and handsome, wonderful, awesome son, Marshall. I was not a happy mother. I began attempting one-on-one conversations with God, but always I would begin with me saying, "Okay, God, I'm angry. Now you've got to tell me the reason you took my son from me, from his children, from his siblings." Well, God did not answer. Still mourning the loss of my first son, Marshall, in 2019, around December, my youngest child and son, Jason, twin to Michael, he became missing. Jason had just gotten an apartment for himself in Wilmington, and there was never any answer to his door when family and friends would go there to find out how he was doing. It was almost at the end of December 2019 when I heard the distinct sound of my son Marshall's voice saying to me, "Mom, call the Wilmington morgue." I did. Then I dropped to my knees as my world seems to completely shattered into many tiny, tiny pieces. My beautiful son Jason was dead and had been at the morgue for several weeks. We'd found him just in time. Jason was buried on January 2nd, 2020. Remember, Marshall died January 2nd, 2018. There was absolutely nothing worse than a mother losing not only one son, but two sons. But you know what happened? I understood. My sons had gone home. How did I know this? Remember I told you that since I was a child, Jesus Christ had been communicating with me. He communicated this. So, in going home after death, this must mean that there's a place after death that we go to. Right? Yes? Our true home is not of this world. You know how I see it sometimes? Even though we may see life and the colors around us and the abundance of everything that's beautiful, we feel it's authentic. But I do not feel it is so. Remember the way we used to develop photographs? We used to take the negatives to have them develop. And when we look at those negatives, they would look brownish or blackish. But when they're developed, they're beautiful, colorful pictures. That's the difference between earth life and heaven life. When it's so much richer in heaven than we can possibly know while we're here on earth. So I was told. You know, Job asked, yes, when a man dies, will he come back into life? Job chapter 14, verse 14. In other words, is death the last hurrah? The final act? The end of the game? Is death the end of the person who died? A first century Greek marveled at the extraordinary practices for Christians who died. If any righteous man among the Christians passed from this world, they rejoice and offer thanks to God as they escort the body with songs of thanksgiving. It was like they were setting up, preparing the body, setting it out from this place to another nearby place. In the meantime, preparations are needed for the trip because life does exist after death. The choice you make in this world determines your final place of residence in the next life. Only those prepared to die are really prepared to live. The uncertainty is not in the dying, but in the preparation. What happens after you die depends on what happens before you die. The only time to prepare for then is now. I want to thank you for listening, but I also want to add a note here. My awesome father, Rudolph, went home to the Lord on September 11, 2021. Now please come back next week and we will have more for you. And you can communicate with me at any time or our church. And I thank you and God bless you. Peace be unto you.